Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt, and we have another very special episode in store today. Today's guest is a woman named Tamzin Young, who also goes by the Collective Consciousness Coach. Tamzin is on a mission to guide souls toward their higher purpose and spiritual awakening. Tamzin has a journey that's nothing short of extraordinary, where her path to enlightenment has been shaped by some painful experiences, and from there, she embarked on a profound quest to understand the depths of the human soul and is now on a mission to share her wisdom and insights. Through her programs, she empowers individuals to break free from the shackles of their past, shift their consciousness, and manifest their dream lives. With a deep commitment to helping others tap into their unique quantum fields, Tamzin is a beacon of transformation, leading by example and helping uplift humanity. She guides individuals through navigating their shadow work, uncovering their soul contracts, understanding multidimensional realms, manifestation, and more. And I'm extremely excited to have her share her insights with us today. Welcome, Tamzin. So I saw a quote on your Facebook page to kind of kick things off. I really love the quote that you shared. It said, "You do not create abundance, you create limitations." Can you touch on that?
Yeah. It was a really interesting concept to come into a remembrance of knowing that in order to align our soul, our spirit, our connection to source, and together our human, our brain, our physical vessel as one, it landed one day with me. It's kind of like hearing, a song over and over and you hear a different lyric every single time, or you watch a movie over and over and you see parts you didn't prior.
Yeah.
I heard this word abundance be thrown around all the time, and it never landed until I actually realized that we are a soul having a human experience, and we as a human create limitations. We don't create abundance.
Yeah.
Abundance is our natural way of being.
Oh, yeah.
Because as a soul, as a spirit, as a universe, there is no limits.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much because I've gone my whole life thinking that we create abundance. And I think a majority of the people out there, they live their lives thinking that way, that we create abundance. But no, abundance is our natural way of living. We create the limitations. So I really love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game changer when you realize that.
Yeah. Okay, so we could dive into it. Tell me about your early life. Where did you grow up and where did you go to school and what was your family like?
I love this. Let's go into the shadows. I grew up in a small country town in Victoria, Australia.
Okay.
I grew up in a household of domestic violence, alcohol, abuse, drugs, all sorts, crime, motorbike gangs, police. It was hardcore living. And I remember that there was this pivotal moment when I was 8 years old that my mother put me and my sister in a car and in the middle of the night and drove. And I didn't know where we were going, but I just knew that it was for the best. I was 8. And we just drove all night, all day, all night. And me and my sister said nothing, the whole time. And we were just silent because for the first 8 years of my life was just so bad and feared for our life that, we just kind of rolled with whatever we were given. And we got to this house and my mum said we're on hideout. And I was like, okay, no worries. I remember having those thoughts as a child.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up escaping and running away from our biological father, who was the primary abuser and the one that brought in all that toxic behavior. And it wasn't long until he found us. And I remember seeing my mum just being absolutely abused, say to the point where she was knocked out. And he took my sister and I and kidnapped us, locked us in a room for 7 days,
Oh my
And
God.
we weren't allowed, my sister and I weren't allowed to talk to each other. We didn't eat. We were just in the corner of a room. And from there, I remember living my life in fear, just being genuinely scared of going to school. We did get, I should add, the police ended up coming and getting us 7 days later, and I've never seen him since. So I should
Oh
add
wow.
that. Everybody, before everybody wonders what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I just remember being scared and thinking, this cannot be it. Like, what is the point of is trauma
Yeah.
and fear for life? That can't be it. And so I remember just thinking to myself, I've got to do something else. And I was different. I grew up the shy girl, the one that didn't have friends, or the friends that I had, I just hung around everyone. I was quietly bullied. I mean, I had a lot of people call me weird and crazy and just odd. And I actually didn't care.
Mhm.
That didn't affect me because I'd already gone through so much shit in my first 8 years that not a lot affected me, or not a lot brought me down anyway. And throughout high school, I fought a lot with my mother and my sister because I just tried to be happy. I genuinely just tried to live a happy, joyful life, and they had held on to the trauma and
Uh
the suffering and the heartache and the fear. And I decided differently. And so my relationship with my family faded, and I moved out of home when I was 16, dropped out of
mm,
school, and I don't like using the term homeless because I slept in a home, but I didn't
yeah.
have a
Mm,
residential place to go. I couch surfed. I went here, there, and everywhere. If I was able to sleep at somebody's house, I did so, and the next day was different. And that was all the way up until I was about 21. During that period of time, I didn't know how to cope anymore. And so I turned to drugs and alcohol. And I genuinely went down a route of pure addiction. And I thought, so be it. I was fine to do that. Um, except there was something inside of my human experience that was not okay with that to happen, because that's what led me to my near-death experience.
yeah.
And then that happened.
Yeah.
And I awakened parts of me that are very hard to explain if you don't get it. But if you get it, it is just it.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanna thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that story. Oftentimes I find that a lot of spiritual people have a dark upbringing, a dark story, some trauma, was involved. And it's kind of interesting too, like looking at you, I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. Like you wouldn't expect that, you know what I mean? Like what they say, don't judge a book by its cover, you know what I mean? It's like when looking at you, it doesn't you wouldn't assume that that was your life growing up, so once again, I want to thank you for sharing that story. I know the listeners can definitely benefit from hearing that story. So I'd like to ask you, did you notice any unusual spiritual gifts or anything as a kid?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. During the time of feeling crazy or feeling odd or different, as a kid, I actually had three, what everybody else in my world called them was invisible friends.
Hmm.
However, during that time, they were as real as anyone else in my world. And so whenever someone said, "Oh, are you just out talking to your invisible friends?" they would just be around me and they'd laugh, and I'd be like, yeah, we just make a joke out of it, because it
Yeah.
is what it is. Um, and so I had that. I was able to, when I was younger, I didn't know the terminologies or the phrases, or what it is that people call them, but I had what I now know as remote viewing, or premonitions, or predicting the future. I astro traveled. I I had mediumship. I mean, I still have mediumship abilities, psychic abilities. I also had telepathic and telekinesist abilities. So moving things with my hands from a distance, or with the intention of power within my eyes. And I lost that over time, but everything else kind of stuck with me a lot. I just thought whilst a kid that it was all normal and everyone could do it. And I believe that still to this day, though.
Okay. I love it. I love to hear it. So I also watched some of your content on your YouTube channel, and I enjoyed hearing about your story. You know, the one story that definitely struck a nerve with me was when you were working at the coffee shop, right? And that's when you discovered your psychic abilities, and also the near death experience. So can you which happened first, and can you expand on those stories?
Yeah, so my near-death experience, which I actually like to call it my death experience because I died. I died. That happened first. I was 21, and I, like mentioned before, I was wasting my human experience with addiction, and I wasn't doing anything in alignment with purpose. I was just doing it just for shits and gigs, not taking anything seriously. And I remember I had one beer and I threw my guts up, and I was like, come on, Tamzin, you can handle like a whole carton, at the time. And when I vomited, I heard this and I was like, that's weird. But I wasn't drunk enough to not feel the pain. See, previously, I used to get so shit-faced that I just wouldn't feel anything. And I remember laying down in bed being like, something bad has happened. And consciously, my mind was like, this is real bad. This is real bad. And I ended up getting rushed to hospital, and they found 4 broken ribs just from vomiting from one beer. I was like, come on.
Wow.
And I got told, I went through x-rays and CT scans, and they took blood and they had a morphine shoved in my leg, the whole time. They were pumping me with endone, everything and anything. And they said that one of the ribs was puncturing a lung and that I had a week to live.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, cool, sweet as, no worries, because I was wasting my life with drugs and alcohol anyway. So I was like, cool, if this is the way I'm going, whatever. And I accepted that. And so I laid in a hospital bed for 3 weeks. I could not move. I could not talk. I did not eat. I did not drink. And my eyes were open, but I could not. It was pretty much like I was in a coma. They just hadn't declared I was in a coma. And so I called, one of my friends was there with me the whole time, and she heard the doctor say I had a week to live, and she called my friends and family to come and say goodbye. The day that they came and said goodbye, I couldn't communicate back with them, by the way. I could just see them, and I was like, and that night, I remember seeing my soul exit my body. Like, I felt that big weight.
Oh, wow.
And light everywhere. And kind of like your background, actually. I remember just seeing that going, this is something I've never seen before. What is this? What's this? This is cool. Thinking it was a dream. And then right in front of me was God under a big white arch. And he was right there. I'm not religious. I do not, myself don't believe in any religion. I love the idea of religion and I study it because I love knowledge, but I don't devote to anything. And I just stand there and I looked at him and I was like, what are you doing here? Telepathically. And he had a face, a mouth, everything, but he didn't speak with his mouth. And he was like, you've crossed over. You've died. And I was like, pardon? And he's like, you've died. And then right next to him was my stepfather, who ended up coming into my life after we escaped the domestic violence. abusive past, and he was my father figure who passed away from brain cancer. And in our life, in our home, you know, he was slowly disintegrating. He popped up and he passed away when I was 12. And then my granny, who I was really close with, and then right behind them everywhere was the orchestra of people that I knew, and I was 21, everyone that I knew that had passed away. And it was a massive amount of people. But that never hit me until this near-death experience, this death experience that I'd known so many people by the age of 21 to die. And then they all in the same tone, the same volume said, you have a choice, you have a choice, you have a choice.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Because in my mind, I had accepted I was going to die. I was like, I didn't realize that when you die, you are met with this realm of beings that tell you that you have a choice. I was like, I genuinely thought that that's it, you're done, see you later.
Yeah, wow.
No. And they said, you have a purpose to fulfill. You died because we put you in this position, this situation to die, because your purpose is bigger and you need to go back and start fulfilling it. And if you don't, you're going to die. And I was like, okay. And so they told me my purpose, and they showed me what looked like this big long screen of my Akashic records.
Oh, wow.
What I now to be my Akashic records. And they said, you can end it here. And I was like at the middle phase, you know, they were like, you can end it here, but you're going to get reincarnated again and go through the same shit. So what do you want to do? I was like, God damn it. Okay. I woke up the next day. I pulled the needle out of my arm, the needle out of my leg, and I stood up out of bed. I walked up to reception. I was like, I'm going home. I died last night. And the doctors were like, all the nurses were freaking out. They're like, get back on the bed. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I hadn't moved in 3 weeks. I hadn't spoken. And they were trying to push and shove me on the bed. And I remember swiping away the needle from one of the doctor's hands to try and put the morphine back in my leg. I was like, I died last night, you guys. Like, I'm going home. And so a hospital, you know, protocol, they had to send me through all the tests, and they found no broken ribs.
Wow.
None. And the doctor said that they weren't allowed to legally let me leave the hospital because they'd already legally declared that I was going to die. And so I wasn't allowed to leave unless I had 24-hour surveillance to rush me straight back to the hospital. And so the friend that I mentioned before that was staying with me, she was like, just in shock. And the doctor said that this is a miracle and they've never seen it before. But legally, if there's nothing coming back on the test, they can't keep me. And so I went home and I started to fulfill my purpose. I got rid of all my old toxic behaviors, people, and environments. I let that go. And I started to move into a more aligned path. You know, it wasn't easy. I lost everything. You know, I lost all the friends that I'd made. You know, they felt friends. I lost the house that I lived in. Half my belongings, you know, I had to move and change jobs and locations. But I'd been given a second card, you know, I'd been given a completely renewed life in one. And I just started to walk a different walk and talk differently. And those that didn't believe me, I didn't care anymore. You know, I let go of judgment. I let go of fear. I let go of the opinions and the condition of what society expects us to do and be and feel. And my programming changed and shifted. And that all also on its own was not easy, because then taking to the next part of working in the cafe, I was really, really good at working, and I had such a high work ethic, and I was a goer. I was always, you know, serving people. And so I worked in hospitality, and I remember just loving that connection with humans and putting a smile on someone's face, or, just talking, communicating. And there was one day I was talking to somebody, and out of nowhere, my whole head, what felt like my whole head, I could hear sounds all the way over the other side of the restaurant. If I looked, I was like, why is it that I can hear 10 meters away what they're saying? And so then the thought and anxiety and panic in my mind was like, what is that? And so then I tried to look at the person I was serving, and I could hear them talking to me. But then the person behind them that was eating their food, talking to someone else, I could hear their thoughts, because then that's when I came to realize that they weren't even talking. I was hearing their thoughts. And I started to just black out. Noise was too loud. My vision was blurry. I couldn't stand up anymore. I was dizzy. I was delusioned. I started to panic. My heart was racing. I was sweating. I went through what then next, I became diagnosed with a severe mental disorder of panic attack episodes. And cool, at that time, I was like, okay, that's the case, then I need help. Until it came down to the doctors having had prescribed me 9 pharmaceuticals a day at the age of 25. And I remember waking up one morning, and I don't know what they're called, but I remember waking up one morning and making myself a coffee and getting ready for the day. And I would go into the fridge, and I got out that little, you know how I feel bad. You know how it's like those old people have like that little, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like flipping mine and then pouring it into my hand, and I'm like, what is this? And I was like, that's 4 years after I had my near-death experience that I started, living my life's purpose, that I'd now just reverted straight back to consuming pharmaceuticals rather than the drugs and alcohol that I was addicted. Like, it just didn't make sense. I had this epiphany moment. I was like, no, not happening. And I had been taking these 9 pharmaceuticals every single day for a good 6 odd months, and the majority of them were just counteracting the effects of the last, because they were all just mind-numbing BS anyway. And I'm all for modern medicine. Please don't get me wrong there. I'm all for it, but it just wasn't my purposeful path. And so I weaned off that, but I still noticed these episodes, what the medical industry called episodes, until I met a man in an osteopath room, and I'd never seen before in my life. And he said to me, has your dad died? I was like, what? Like, I don't even, in my mind, I was like, I don't even know you. Like, who says that to some random?
Yeah.
And he goes, because he's with you, I can see him. And I was like, okay. I believe in that stuff, and I think it's brilliant, but I hadn't quite tapped into it. And he was like, your spirit guides, and it felt really like angry energy, but he was like, your spirit guides are trying to send you a message. And I was like, okay, wow, there's something here I need to hear. And then I realized that he himself was a spirit guide in physical form.
Wow.
And he downloaded all these messages to me to activate the collective consciousness. And I've never been the same.
Wow, man, that was a long story. I love it so much. I have a similar story myself, not quite to your degree, but in my 20s, it was also a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, and I was in a couple of car accidents, man. I also broke a rib, And in one of the car accidents, maybe I'll add photos. And when I publish the video, I'll add photos. It was kind of a bad car accident. My car flipped upside down on the freeway, and I came out of that car accident completely unscathed. And that's when I never considered myself to be religious, right? And so after that experience, when I came out of a horrific car accident completely unscathed, I started to believe, like, wait a minute, something's going on here. I started to believe in God or whatever. And then there was another bad car accident that happened where my friend was driving, and I've come to believe that those were my spirit guides also making these things happen. They were like trying to wake me up, like, hey man, like stop drinking, stop partying. You're wasting your life. You're not pursuing your purpose. And after that, I got sober. I've been sober almost 2 years now. I saw a couple of hypnotherapists, changed my mindset, led me to ayahuasca. I went to the ayahuasca retreat, and now it's like I'm also pursuing this path now. Like, I think that those were my spirit guides kind of like nudging me and guiding me on this path as well. So it's crazy, man. Like,
it is very, I mean, I love that these experiences are crazy. I think that it's awesome that we can just not give the term crazy the negative connotation a lot of people do. You know, if we can just accept that we're just, you know, on a different path. It's not that it's different. It's not that we're odd. It's not that we're crazy. It's just that sometimes we're perceived like that, and that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what did the stranger at the clinic, what did he tell you? Like, you know, you said that he told you like a bunch of different things. What did he tell you that next day?
Yeah. So after we had that conversation at the naturopath, we both were there for appointments. So we had to kind of like exit ways. We exchanged numbers, and then we caught up the next day. And I was going to watch the sunrise on the beach because and do a guided meditation by myself. You know, it's my self-care time. And I invited him there to just catch up and chat and finish what we didn't. And whilst we were conversating, just conversating, physically, 3 eagles, and eagles weren't like common birds in this area. 3 eagles flew down over the river, over the beach, water, floated, and then just like right beside, like in alignment with each other, and then just right in front of us.
Oh my God.
They were maybe like 5 meters away from us, but we were both like, that's weird, but cool. And then they flew directly towards us and up and over and away. And then he goes, are you ready? And I was like, pardon? He goes, are you ready? And I was like, ready for what? And he goes, and I was like, holy shit. Out of nowhere, we started astro traveling. Out of nowhere. And I was like, I could see our bodies sitting there, but we were up there, and I was so consciously aware. And then he goes, okay, this is the first part. You ready? And I was like, what? And he goes, you ready? And then we go up again. And I couldn't see the earth. I couldn't see us. I couldn't see anything. And I was like, where are we? And he goes, do you want to see your life? And I was like, okay. I was still kind of a bit bizarre. And then it's like we took a 360 and we spun around. And that screen showed up again that I saw on the near-death experience. And I saw my life on a screen. And he goes, this is your Akashic records. And I was like, I've seen that before. And he goes, you have access to the Akashic records. You need to tap into it. You need to tap into it. And I was like, what? I never really even took the path to learn what it was. I'd just seen it that one time. And he goes, tap into it. I was like, okay. And then we came back, we traveled, we went to different dimensions, we saw different beings, but it never really actually integrated at that time. When we came back down to our bodies, there was people everywhere. Like, we did that and traveled at sunrise, and it had been 5 hours in human time.
Oh, wow.
Except it felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, how long have people been walking around us and my physical body's been sitting here? It was weird. And I loved it. And that's when I really came to realize time does not exist at all. We just comprehend it differently. We have this different frequency of what time means to us. And then I went home. We parted ways. I went home to my partner and I was like, that was some weird ass shit, man. I've got to have a sleep. I've got to
Yeah.
that was weird. And he's like, what? And I just said, no, it was cool. It was fine. Everything's fine. I just need to sleep. And then I went back up there when I was sleeping and I saw it all again. And then I woke up and I continued off with my day, my life, and it was whatever. And then that night, I remember waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I heard this loud, loud voice in my head that said, you need to start a business. And I was like, what? Well, I don't know how to start a business. And then there was loud voice, get your laptop out, we will help you. And we created a whole website in 2 hours just by listening to this very, very loud voice. And that's how the Collective Consciousness Coach was created.
Wow. This is amazing stuff. This is far out stuff. So I'd like to ask you, because I've always wondered and I've always been torn on this. So I'm sure you have the answer for me, or hopefully. So do we have free will then? If you saw your whole life in your Akashic records, you saw your whole life how it's supposed to play out. So do we have free will, or is our life already written for us and we just think we have free will?
Mm-hmm. I would first like to note, I don't know everything, and everyone's comprehension is going to be different due to their own belief systems, their own teachings, and what resonates with them. So what I believe, what I think, what I feel is true. Two ways. Yes, we have free will. Humans have the choice to regulate our thoughts and our emotions, which create an energy, which then move us into everyday paths, so crossroads. So every single day we have hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions to make every single day. Like when I jump off here, am I going to walk out the room and grab a drink? Do I need to go to the toilet? Am I going to go to the today? Every decision, that's free will. Sometimes if our soul contract has already been written, if this is what you believe, this is what I feel is true, is that when we got shown our soul contract before we came into this existence, this experiment, if we got shown our soul contract by the Galactic Council of Light, who are the planetary Earth-bound beings, not every decision is on that soul contract, but major purposes and missions are. The free will that we have is, should I have this water right now?
Yeah.
Should I say this thing right now?
Okay.
But the major missions, the major purposes, the major decisions or redirections or the energy upgrades, that is pre-scripted.
Oh, wow.
When we come to those crossroads, our soul fragments, this might take it to a whole nother level, our soul fragments become what's the word I'm looking for? They break apart, basically. So every decision that we could have made, a fragment, so let's say it's a little atom or a little molecule that still holds the DNA of this huge energy or field, makes the decision that we didn't. So it goes down that path that we didn't, which then that's how we sometimes can quantum leap or jump timelines. Because our soul goes and fulfills the purpose that our contract was given in a short period of time, because really the human experience is a blip in time. Sometimes we have too many missions and purposes and situations and experiences and challenges and all the wonderful things then one life can complete.
Wow, I love that. I love that answer so much. So I'd like to ask you too. So for the listeners who might be new to spirituality and all of these concepts, can you explain to the audience what it is exactly that you do, who you help, and what your mission is?
Oh, for anyone, it's funny, hey. What do I do? My goodness. I share my authentic feelings and emotions. I'm transparent with my beliefs. I honor what I learn. I teach. I'm a simple, natural being that wants to raise the vibration, raise the frequency of humanity, for allow us to get through the human evolution smoother and easier. It's sometimes not about, connecting with your galactic beings or traveling the multidimensional realms. Sometimes it's just simply about tapping back into your self-care, your self-discovery, your self-healing. The inner work is the most important work. And when I can see that some people need that, I'm able to provide that. When I see that some people want to astral travel so then they can go back past lives and connect back into their ancient Egypt origins to heal traumas that are holding on to energetic wounds, I can do that too. There is, once you tap into the collective consciousness, everything is available. Everything is available. And I feel like we are all here right now for a much greater reason. And so if anyone takes anything from that, just know that you are needed and loved and have a lot of soul family that remembers you on a quantum world, quantum realm, and we're all connected and we're all one.
Yep.
And I feel like there was another question I might have forgotten to answer.
Just what your mission is.
Yeah. Just helping humanity go through this consciousness evolution. Easier, more natural, smoother, and remembering that we're a soul having a human experience, and however that lands and integrates and feels for you, then that's exactly what it's meant to right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love what you touched on there. So I've been hearing that term thrown around more recently, and honestly, I don't really know much about it. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? What is the Galactic Council of Light?
The Galactic Council of Light is our galactic federation. They are a mother being. They, as in, it is our multidimensional, intergalactic star seeds, different light sources, different beings from planets all around our galaxy, all around our universe, our vast universe, who have come together over billions and billions and billions of years. Well, what we as humans comprehend as years, right? Who have come together to create an alliance to help the beings bound by Earth, so humans like us, or animals, or nature, to help the beings bound by Earth to go through the teachings, the lessons, the karmic cycles. We are the only, I don't really like to say that, but I mean, it depends on which type of frequency you're at right now, but we are the only species in the whole universe that can feel all emotions.
Oh, wow.
And so if you are a light being in the Galactic Federation or the Galactic Council of Light, or if you're a star seed living within the interdimensional, multidimensional universe, you can't feel things. You don't need to feel things like fear, guilt, worry, shame, anxiety, panic. You don't. Those are human emotions, or a level of consciousness that we as humans, that's how we are ending karmic cycles and our purpose. I hope this doesn't get cut out because I end up getting quite censored when I say this stuff. But our purpose as humans on this earth right now is to shift consciousness and end all karmic cycles on the low vibrational scale of the levels of consciousness in order to end the spiritual war happening in our multidimensional realms.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hope.
wow. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm loving this conversation so much. It's just blowing my mind. Okay. Also, I'd like to ask you, so have you dived into your own past lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you
Yeah.
found?
What have I found? I am a I have had thousands and thousands of years on within the Palladian starseed planet, although they don't necessarily belong to like a planet that we would comprehend as humans as like just a floating planet. The Palladians travel a lot. They go in and out of other origin beings and live on a big mothership. So I have a very distinct primary Palladian spirit guide with me, who really actually is just my higher self in that other dimension. But she is able to travel when I am in my avatar and gather messages and download and come back in perfect timing. I have had a time within other star seeds, such as Arcturians or the Lyran, the Syrians. So I have a very strong connection to star seed beings and origins and the history of them. I have had about 7 reincarnations as a human on this earth. And I have had 2 reincarnations with the same family. Mm-hmm. So when I got shown in my near-death experience that if I was gonna die now and come back again, that would have been my 3rd time in pretty much the same karmic cycle. So I've seen myself be a part of like the witch era and growing up with magical powers. I've seen myself be an animal, or I've seen myself be a big tree and my soul is a part of a tree, and it grows how a tree grows. There is a lot when it comes to the Akashic records and past lives that is stored within our DNA and our consciousness and our remembrance. And when you remember, that's when you can tap into the magic of what was. Yeah.
Wow. This is far out stuff. Okay. So you talk about moving into the 5th dimension, the 5D and above. Could you explain what this means and how it impacts people's lives?
Yeah. 5D is just another terminology that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
Because of this human evolution, because of a lot of us awakening, because of new information coming in, or maybe easier information due to the technology era, we're able to just gain instant gratification or instant knowledge or find things out. However, it's not about learning what Google can tell you. It's not about the information flowing through that I can give you or anyone listening. It's about when you can comprehend and integrate and feel into why you're here on this earth at this time. If you can start to shift your perspective and start to look around and enjoy the vibrant colors of nature, and if you can sit in stillness with the thoughts in your mind, if you can enjoy living even through the hard times, if you can just have peace within, you've shifted. You've shifted dimensions. 5 dimension, that's 5D. You've shifted dimensions, but it's all within the mind of the beholder. And so if you're meant to shift dimensions, you will. If you're not, you won't right now. But I think the biggest thing to take from this is that everybody right now, we're going on a major collective consciousness rising. That is the human evolution. That is the human evolution. This isn't just happening to a couple of us that are going on a spiritual journey. No, this is happening to every single one of us. And so a lot of us that may not have gone down the spiritual route, or, may not have seen or comprehended things, or, like you said, you had to go through a couple of car accidents to really allow certain things to land for you to be like, there was something protecting me there. Sometimes we have to have those things happen. And if we can see it for the goodness that it is and not the trauma that it could create, and we can let go of why did this happen to me and replace it with what is this trying to teach me, then that's when the shift can occur. Everything happens for a reason. And a lot of us don't want to believe that because it's fucking hard, because when we say that everything happens for a reason, all we think about is the negative.
Yep.
So change that perspective, change that mindset, and think like, okay, if there's such thing as manifestation and that we're co-creating our reality and all this wonderful, joyful stuff that this woman can talk about, then take responsibility for the shit that happens and the lessons that you learn, and then move into abundance once you realize that the limitations that you put on yourself were what your human does to protect you and sit you in fear and ego.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So what are common signs that you are noticing people might experience on their spiritual awakening journey? And what advice do you have for those people on how to best navigate it?
I don't know if there are common signs to a spiritual journey, but I can share what I have heard over my time of being a collective consciousness coach that pops up for the majority. Anxiety, panic, fear, worry, overthinking, feeling quite sick and ill, headaches, migraines, feeling dizzy, confused, not being able to think correctly, having mind blanks, perceiving yourself in the mirror different to the way that other people would perceive you, having a deja vu, feeling like I've seen this before, or I know this. This feels not. This doesn't feel new to me. And so the biggest advice that I would give anyone that is feeling any of this is to repeat your affirmations. And I kind of giggle because this is so simple. This is so simple. But the reality is that your spiritual self is your natural being. It's the human that overcomplicates it.
Oh, yeah.
And so go back within and repeat affirmations in your mind. Your self-talk, your internal dialogue is communicating with the universe and source. So it's not just you talking to yourself and giving yourself a bit of a pep talk. It's you declaring to the universe, and repeat your internal affirmations. I've got this. I'm safe. I'm guided. I'm protected. I'm going through this for a reason. I don't need to know this reason. Everything happens, and I have everything I need to have. And just talking to yourself, being your biggest fucking cheerleader. Because it's you against you, you're the one that has to live with you for the rest of your life. No one else is inside your mind. So if you can do that inner work, then do that. And ground, ground with Mother Nature, drink water. Goodness sake, guys, drink water. So many people don't talk about the importance of water. We're made up of 80% water. The majority, 80% of Earth is water. Give yourself some good filtered water.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the ride, man. Like, this is just a blip of time. Stop being so caught up in the chaos and the drama and the negative, because you're feeding this spiritual war, and you're allowing the bad to win. Just be happy. Just be joyful. Just connect and bring back that soulful energy that we need.
Yeah. I love that so much. I can hear the passion in your voice. So what is your view on shadow work, and how can individuals effectively approach and work through their shadows?
I tend to feel like I repeat a lot of my teaching. And that's, like I said, because everything is so natural and simple, and we should take away the hard of it all. But how do you face your shadows? You come to realize that everything that you've been through, and I say this because I believe it, but everything that you've been through happened for a reason. It happened for a reason. And it's so freaking simple. And I can say that throughout all the shit that I've been through. And everything that I shared in my early years and where I came from, that was just scratching the surface. But everything happens for a reason. Once you can connect the dots of, okay, why did I go through that shit? Why did I go through that trauma? And you ask yourself, what did that teach me? That taught me how to be resilient. That taught me how to be strong. That taught me how to speak my truth, even if I'm going to stand alone. That taught me empowerment. And so really just connecting those dots and saying, like, yeah, I went through that because of this. And sometimes if that can be your natural common thought in your all day, every day, especially when you go through shit, that shadow work will heal and it won't resurface again. That karmic cycle will not come up again, but you have to feel in order to heal. And shadow work is a pain in the ass, man, because it needs to be faced. But a lot of us don't want to face the hard times because we're in this illusion of life.
Yeah. What are some like practices that you could recommend to people on how to do that shadow work? I'm not sure. Have you done ayahuasca? I did ayahuasca, and in that experience, they mention of the purging, and they say when you purge, you're throwing up all this stuck energy, this negative energy, this trauma that's stored in your body. And I purged a lot, and that was my way to do my shadow work. I'm not sure what advice you have on that, or what practices you recommend.
I have never done ayahuasca, but I have heard so much about it, and I've done a lot of research, and I've connected with a lot of people that have gone through the ayahuasca journey and experience, and I love it. I love that you've done it and you've experienced the shadow work that comes with it.
Yeah.
And the purging, and the surrendering, the accepting, the inner knowing,
Yeah.
What practices would I suggest when it comes to shadow work is, as painful as it can be, get a piece of paper and a pen, even if you aren't a journaler, and just automatically write down all the shit you've been through. Because trust me, we as humans, our logical brain thinks about the negative more than it does the positive. So it's not going to be hard for you to think about the shit times. So write it down. Say, I've been in a car accident and I felt shit. I thought I was going to die. I watched my life flash before my eyes. I lost friends. I drank a lot of alcohol. And write it down. Write it down and then look at it and think, okay, this is what I do whenever I have triggers come up. I say, okay, how do I feel about that? How do I genuinely feel about being in a car accident? Well, it was scary, but why was it scary? And then just continue to ask yourself, why? Why? And then all these different words and emotions and thoughts and feelings and images will come up, but you've got to do the inner work. And asking yourself why on repeat will bring up more and more, and then there'll be this root cause where you'll go, you might even break down, you know, you might have an emotional release, and you might go, holy shit, that's what that caused. That was that dormant energy, that trauma. And then you just look at you say to yourself, or you could do some mirror work, mirror gazing, look into the eyes of yourself within the mirror, or you can, you know, light sage or Palo Santo or hold crystals or incense. You could chant, you could repeat, okay, I cut cords with this emotional attachment. That was a part of my experience. I will not allow it to stay dormant within my current life. I will release and let go as I now free myself to the next level. And so you can do so many different types of practices, but it's about the inner work, the time that you spend with you, asking yourself why, and then the real questions.
Yeah. Wow. I love that so much. I haven't heard that before, but something that I might consider actually. So I'd like to ask you kind of a selfish question. I'm not sure. Do you see anything for me, like for my life purpose, my life contract, or are you picking up any kind of energy or anything from me?
Ooh, I love this. Do you know? I don't want you to tell me, but I like to ask when I do readings, I like to ask so then you have a remembrance. So you could just say yes or no. Don't elaborate. But do you know of a past life that you have had? Because in the Arcturian starseed origin, because I can see that you have an Arcturian spirit guide, and he's big and blue, and he comes across very masculine, but he's also showing me father figure, but more because you didn't have a connection to a father figure.
Uh, you're close, you know, and I mean, I don't know anything about my past lives, no, you know, but I guess one thing I could touch on was I'm not sure if you're familiar with the modern mystery school, but I did a life activation ritual, and in that experience, the work that was being done on me, I had my eyes closed, and the practitioner, she was working on me, she was doing all this energy work and stuff, and I swear, man, like I had my eyes closed, and I felt energy, I felt a presence, or even multiple beings or and energy was there. I don't know what it was. I felt multiple presences in my space, and I would open my eyes and nothing was there, and then I was like, oh, what was that, you know? And then I closed my eyes and she kept doing the work, and then I felt it again, like multiple, and I would open my eyes and nothing was there, and then so I asked her at the end of it, and she was like, yeah, man, she was blown away. She said that I have like a lot of spirit guides or something. I and that just blew my mind. So yeah, I'd like to learn more about that.
Mm, mm. What I can see for you is that you have had an energetic connection, but you have an energetic connection to a past life within the Arcturian starseed origin, where you now were given in this experience an Arcturian spirit guide. When we have a primary starseed spirit guide, it can feel like a massive presence. It can feel like a lot of spirit guides. Two reasons for that. One, because they are a huge energy. They come with a huge ancient history of knowledge and information. So they feel massive. They are massive beings. They're like giants. Two, they also don't just come as one. They come with the whole energy of the star, like that star seed origin. They come with the knowledge of others within their group. So there is a very high chance that you're surrounded by many different Arcturians within your spirit guide team. But the one that's showing up for you is showing me that he's always been there for you to give you that uplift, support, and protection as that father figure or as that masculine energy in your life, in order to not allow you to, what I'm really seeing, actually, the most that's coming from this is that you, throughout your whole life, I feel like, and maybe only up until like 3 years ago when you went through a bit of a self-discovery phase, you have always wondered, like, why am I different? What does it mean to truly be a man? Or, not wanting to put yourself in a box of being a gender role. I feel like you have done a lot of work and inner healing on how to show up and present yourself in a world of labels where you don't want to label you anyway.
Yeah.
And he is showing me that he's been around to show you what a man can be without putting an umbrella or a stereotype upon it.
Wow, this is far out stuff. So how do you spell that? Arcturian? How do you spell that?
Yeah. A-R, now you've got me. ARUTRIAN.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna look into that some more.
I'm happy to message it too if you want.
Okay, cool. So your rebirth program, it looks awesome. Can you explain what this program entails?
Yeah, so I was guided by Source, just like any other work that I do, to put together an automated program where people can tap into my energy, my transmissions, my activations, my knowledge. And it is designed as a 5-week program, a self-paced program, where every week you're given a workbook with different topics and subjects to tap into. So the first week is all about going back within and learning how to take care of your soul and your body and your life and nourish you. It talks about things like nutrition, talks about things like natural chemicals that are released within our body, why they're released, what they do for our mind, body, and soul. So there's a 18-page workbook on week one, along with a video that goes for about 40 minutes every single week. And I go through my whole life's teaching, and from how to activate your intuition or your third eye, how for you to tap into the Akashic records. I share everything that I do in order to live the life that I do. And so it's about teaching every single person how to do what I do and how to, it's just everything. It's 5 weeks of that, and you get to keep the materials. So it's 5 videos, 5 workbooks. The videos range between 20 to 50 minutes, and the workbooks are about 15 to 18 pages each.
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds very detailed. So yeah, the listeners out there, if you're interested, definitely reach out to her to get started on that rebirth program. So can you share some success stories or transformations that individuals have experienced through this program?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had people go into this rebirth program feeling depressed, suicidal, addicted to alcohol or drugs, living within abusive relationships, being absolutely in poverty environments, not being able to put food on the table, or having no education, having dropped out of school, and just knowing that there was something different for them. and that they just needed this rebirth, this renew card. And they completed, sometimes the activations can happen within a week. You know, I believe that knowledge is power, but only when shared. And Albert Einstein says that imagination is more important than knowledge. And I believe that the duality of both activates and awakens the remembrance of knowing everything. And so I've had people come out of this rebirth program a week in, 2 weeks in, 5 weeks in, and they've experienced what I experienced in my near-death experience or my death experience, except they didn't have to go through all that trauma and dying. And so they've lost that karmic wheel of addiction, or they find their worth. They find their worth, and they leave toxic relationships. I've had people come out of it where they've been able to hear other people thinking, that telepathic ability. And so then they've realized their soul purpose. They've tapped into their Akashic records. They've connected with their spirit guides and their galactic team. And now they've exited the matrix and they're living their highest timeline. And so they have no craving to the low vibrational scale, yet can see the multidimensional layers living throughout this reality.
That's awesome. I love that, man. Sounds like a very powerful program, a lot of great success stories with it. So kind of closing it out, what plans do you have, and how do you envision the future of your work?
Dolores Cannon?
Yeah.
I mean, shoot for the moon, right? Shoot for the stars. You got to go high. I love the way that she has left a blueprint.
Oh, yeah.
I idolize the things that she says. Whenever I hear her talk about the Galactic Council, or talk about past lives, or talk about quantum healing, I have this inner, like, I've always known that. I've always thought that.
Yeah.
And, my human will hold back sometimes and put this block of resistance upon me that says, you can't share that. That's too crazy right now. But I hear her say it, and I think, you know what? That's what I want. I want to travel the world and speak on, panels, or speak to classes or workshops, and just share the knowledge, because that's where the power lies. That's what I see for the future. Until then, my programs, my courses, my groups, the technology era, reaching a greater audience, connecting, collaborating, and building communities.
I love it. So pretty much you're saying you're going to be the next Dolores Cannon. That's what you're saying.
No. I mean, we all have individual, unique gifts and messages for the world. I would love to be able to leave a blueprint the same way that she has, with the knowledge that she's gained. And I would love to be able to reach an audience that evolves their consciousness the way that I do from the teachings that she shares.
Yeah, I love it. I could see it. I could see it in your future. You got it. It's coming. It's coming. So yeah, kind of closing it out, times are tough. There's no denying it, especially with the things that are going on in the Middle East, and you got threat of world war, and times are tough, right? So can you send the listeners out there a final message of love and healing?
It is tough. It is tough. And we have a lot going on. And I never want to live in a place or a space of ignorance is bliss. I never want that. But I also truly, truly believe that our thoughts are magnetic and our emotions are electric. together that create an energy. So when we shift the thoughts and the emotions that go on for us every single day, we can create a brighter future. You know, we just have to set the intention of living in love and light, even if that is a little bit ignorant is bliss mentality. We are co-creating together through the collective consciousness our reality. Although there is a spiritual war occurring and evil is trying to play their last cards to win. But positivity always overpowers. But if we get caught up and we put too much attention, you have to pay attention to the thoughts and the emotions that you as an individual are contributing to. Is it helping? You know, ask yourself that question. Is it helping? Is it help that I spend all this time watching news and the YouTubes of what's going on in the wars and the this and that? Is it actually helping me and everyone else? And if your answer is no, then change the way that you're feeding your mind and your soul.
Wow, those are beautiful words. I love it. So I want to thank you so much, Tamzin, for meeting with me today. And thank you for providing such great wisdom and insights on this episode. I want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So closing it out, please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
Amazing. Collective Consciousness Coach. I have a group on Facebook. I have a page on Facebook. I have a TikTok. I have an Instagram. I have a podcast on Spotify. I have a YouTube. I am not one that loves technology very much. My frequency interferes with the frequency of technology. So I don't have huge following. I don't have, a big time going presence online. But you can find me across those social platforms, and I love connecting and just building communities because that's where we're at the moment. And if you jump into my link tree, then it's all there.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.